Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and demystify the unseen infrastructure of your home. We're tackling something pretty much every homeowner has to face eventually: repiping. Look, it's a massive project, right? And picking the absolute best material, well, that can literally be the difference between decades of total peace of mind or a ridiculously expensive recurring nightmare hiding behind your drywall. Because trust me, nobody wants a surprise indoor swimming pool in their living room. So, if you're gearing up for a remodel, adding an extension, or just dealing with the absolute headache of leaky pipes, you're probably feeling a bit overwhelmed by all the choices out there. You're probably asking yourself, which pipe is actually the best? Seems like a no-brainer question, but the answer goes way beyond just grabbing the cheapest option off a hardware store shelf. It actually comes down to your home's specific layout, your local building codes, and, get this, even the exact chemical makeup of your tap water. Before we get this showdown started, let's quickly size up our three heavyweights. In one corner, we've got traditional copper. You know it. It's the gleaming metal standard that's literally been the go-to for generations. And in the other corner, we have the modern polymers. These might sound a bit like sci-fi, but they've completely revolutionized the plumbing industry. We're talking PVC, which stands for polyvinyl chloride, and PEX, otherwise known as cross-linked polyethylene. Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll meet the contenders. Then, we'll break down cost and installation, followed by durability over the years and the massive water chemistry factor. Finally, we'll talk about how to actually make that final choice for your home. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1. Meet the contenders, the three heavyweights. Now, what's really fascinating here is that there is no single perfectly flawless material. Every single contender brings some really unique strengths, but also some serious trade-offs for your home setup. Think of it like a giant puzzle. Copper, it's highly durable, sure, but it completely lacks flexibility and definitely has a higher cost profile. PVC boasts amazing chemical resistance and a nice, low material cost, but man, it is completely rigid. And then there's PEX. PEX brings this massive flexibility to the table, which fundamentally changes how you can install it, even though it does have some specific limitations around chemical and extreme temperature exposure. So, yeah, no magic bullet here, just a delicate balancing act of pros and cons. Moving right along to Section 2, cost and installation, the realities. Okay, the absolutely crucial point we need to make here is that people tend to hyper-focus just on the price tag of the pipe itself. And yeah, sure, copper is typically priced quite a bit higher per foot than PVC or PEX, but actually, material cost is just a tiny fraction of the total bill. It's the labor, the specialized fittings, and the intense process of routing those pipes through your home's framing that really drive up the cost. Think about it. A cheap material that takes 3 times as long to install is going to end up costing you significantly more in the long run. And this is exactly why PEX is such a powerhouse when we look at total upfront costs. Because PEX is super lightweight and incredibly flexible, plumbers can run it in these long, continuous lengths. It's literally just like a garden hose. You can snake it right around obstacles inside your walls. That translates to vastly fewer elbows, way fewer joints, and significantly faster labor. Plus, and this is huge for a repipe or a remodel, that flexibility means far less demolition to your drywall and ceilings because they can safely fish it right through much smaller openings. On the flip side, though, copper and PVC are entirely rigid. So if your house has a complex layout with a ton of turns, multiple joints are absolutely unavoidable. Every single turn means precise cutting, meticulous prep work, and really labor-intensive joining methods, whether they're sweating copper with a blowtorch or using chemical solvent cements on the PVC. This doesn't just eat up labor time either. It means every single joint becomes a potential point of failure. It introduces a lot more room for human error to mess with the overall reliability of your plumbing system. All right, Section 3, durability over the years, holding up. When we fast forward and look at how these materials actually hold up over time, copper is definitely the old school veteran here. It's famous for its super long service life and its sheer resistance to mechanical damage. You can accidentally bump into it and it just shrugs it off. Now, PVC handles aggressive chemicals amazingly well, which is why it's so common for certain drains, but it can become brittle over time. It's totally vulnerable to cracking impacts, and it has some pretty strict temperature constraints depending on the fittings you use. Then we have the newcomer, PEX. Because PEX is so flexible, it actually absorbs movement, which massively reduces the stress on its joints. And honestly, this is just a brilliant piece of engineering. That flexibility means it can actually expand slightly if water freezes inside it. That drastically reduces the risk of those dreaded freeze-related pipe bursts compared to rigid pipes. Let's dive into Section 4, the water chemistry factor, the invisible decider.
Okay, listen up, because this is probably one of the most massive takeaways you need to hear today. Water quality is absolutely not one size fits all. It varies wildly across different cities or even just different neighborhoods. The pH level, the specific mineral content, the corrosivity of the water flowing from your municipality, that invisible chemistry literally dictates how your pipes are going to survive. You can have the most perfect, beautiful installation in the world, but if your water chemistry is actively fighting the material of your pipe, man, your plumbing system is just on a ticking clock.
I ask about pinhole leaks because they are a very specific telltale sign of trouble. See, copper pipes, despite their legendary reputation for being tough as nails, can be incredibly susceptible to corrosion depending on your local water chemistry. If your tap water has pH imbalances or certain mineral concentrations, it can literally eat away at the copper from the inside out. We're talking tiny, but completely devastating pinhole leaks. If your particular neighborhood has a history of these, well, copper probably shouldn't be your top pick, no matter how much historical prestige it has. So let's break down the chemistry realities for all three contenders. PVC remains mostly inert, which basically means it doesn't really react with the water flowing through it, assuming you're using approved components. PEX is generally super reliable too, but, it does have specific environmental breaking points. It can degrade if it's exposed to temperatures it isn't rated for, or if water stagnates in it for way too long. And then there's copper, which, as we just talked about, heavily relies on the hope that your local municipal water properties are always going to stay in that typical, non-corrosive sweet spot. And finally, we arrive at Section 5, making the final choice, the systems approach. This quote right here, it's literally everything. When you repipe, you aren't just buying a bunch of loose plastic or metal tubes at the store. You are designing a complete, interconnected system that is entirely tailored to your specific home. The type of pipe you choose directly dictates the exact valves you're going to need, the connectors, whether you have to add insulation, and exactly how the whole thing ties into your water heater. If you treat a repipe as just a single material purchase instead of a full integrated system design, you're basically writing a recipe for a mismatched, totally unreliable network. To actually put this into practice, here is your exact step-by-step action plan. Step 1. Pull up your local water reports online or just go get a test on yourself. You absolutely need to know your water's pH and hardness before making a choice. Step 2, double-check your local building codes. Some towns actually restrict certain materials for specific uses, or they might require special fire barriers. Step 3, when you start getting quotes from plumbers, demand a detailed scope of work. You want to compare the total installed cost, meaning labor time, routing, and demolition, not just the raw cost of the pipe itself. Ultimately, it all boils down to this pretty reassuring reality. Your contractor's ability to efficiently route that pipe with minimal demolition is going to save you vastly more money than nitpicking over the raw cost of plastic versus metal per foot. Think about it. A really complex, multi-story house might absolutely scream for the flexibility of PEX, just to save you thousands in drywall repair. But if you've got a super simple, wide-open, unfinished basement, well, running rigid copper or PVC there might be perfectly cost-effective. Honestly, the physical layout of your home is just as important as the material you ultimately choose. So, before you start eagerly knocking huge holes in your drywall or signing off on a massive contract, take a step back and ask yourself, how well do you really know the water flowing through your walls? Because the unseen chemistry in your tap water, combined with the hidden layout of your home's framing, holds the real answer to which pipe is actually best for you. So go out there, test your water, evaluate your home's unique structure, and find your true winner.